James was 44 when his savings reset for the fourth year in a row. He had $811 in the bank, $6,200 on a credit card, and $14,600 in his retirement account. 23 years remained before age 67. He was not starting from zero, but every month, the system treated his debt as automatic and his protection as optional. The card charged interest without asking. His checking account collected a fee whenever he missed its balance rule. But building an emergency buffer required James to make the right decision again and again while rent, repairs, and medical bills competed for the same dollar. James thought his problem was discipline. It was not. It was the gravity tax. The gravity tax is not a government tax. It is the extra cost created when financial products collect interest and fees automatically, while the protections that could stop those costs remain fragmented across separate accounts and separate decisions. In this video, you will see the three mechanisms charging James, the math behind each one, and the sequence that could move him from $811 to his personal $10,000 target in about 3 years. More importantly, you will see why the correct order matters even more after 40, when every reset also consumes part of a shrinking retirement runway. James is a fictional composite. His income, balances, and timeline are an illustration. The public data and consumer guidance are real. James works as a shift supervisor at a coffee chain in Portland, Oregon. He earns $41,600 a year before taxes. In this illustration, his monthly take-home pay is about $2,790. Rent, utilities, transportation, groceries, insurance, phone service, and required debt payments total about $2,430. That leaves $360 of monthly breathing room. James chose $10,000 because it represented roughly 4 months of his core expenses, with extra room for a car repair or medical deductible. It is not a universal financial law. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says the amount needed in an emergency fund depends on your situation. Looking at costs you have faced before can help define the right goal, and even a small amount can provide useful security. The question is not why every person must save exactly $10,000. The question is why James keeps returning to zero before he can reach the amount his own risks require. The first mechanism is the shock surcharge. During one 12-month period, James faced 4 unplanned expenses totaling $2,060. They were repairs, medical costs, and a temporary housing gap. None was luxury spending. His savings could not absorb the full amount, so 3 expenses moved partly onto his credit card. The original bills did not change. The payment method changed their future cost. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau explains that when a financial shock becomes credit card or loan debt, interest and fees can make the expense significantly larger than the original bill. The Federal Reserve's report on the economic well-being of United States households in 2025 found that 63% of adults said they would cover a hypothetical $400 emergency with cash, savings, or a credit card paid off at the next statement. The other 37% would not cover it completely with those cash equivalent methods. 12% of all adults said they could not pay the expense at all. James is not proof of that survey. He is a fictional example of the mechanism behind it. Without a liquid buffer, one bad week can create a payment that lasts for months. That payment reduces the cash available for the next shock. The system does not merely remove $2,060 once. It claims future margin too. That is the shock surcharge. An ordinary expense becomes more expensive because protection was missing when the expense arrived. The second mechanism is the automatic interest gap. James's credit card balance is $6,200 at a 21% annual percentage rate. For a simple 1-month illustration, 21% divided by 12 is 1.75%. 1.75% of $6,200 is $108.50. Real credit card interest follows the card agreement and often uses an average daily balance, so the exact charge can differ, but the direction is clear. The interest calculation runs automatically. James does not need to remember it. He does not need to approve it. The contract performs the calculation and adds the cost. If the $6,200 balance somehow remained unchanged for a full year, simple annual interest at 21% would be about $1,302. That is not a prediction of his statement total. Payments, new charges, fees, and daily balances change the result. It is a scale illustration. James was trying to earn a return on savings while paying a much larger contracted rate on debt. Investor.gov gives direct guidance on this conflict. High-interest credit card debt should generally be paid down before investing because an investment return is uncertain, while card interest is a known cost. This does not mean James should empty every dollar of emergency savings onto the card. An empty reserve could send the next repair directly back to the same card. It means he needs a starter reserve and then an aggressive debt plan. The automatic interest gap is simple. The cost is opt-out, but the protection is opt-in. Yesterday's emergency keeps charging tomorrow's paycheck until James installs a mechanism strong enough to stop it. The third mechanism is the fragmented money trap. James could open his savings app and see $811. He could open his credit card app and see $6,200. He could open his retirement account and see $14,600. Every product showed its own number. None told him which dollar should do which job first. That fragmentation created false progress. A larger savings balance felt reassuring. A retirement contribution felt responsible. But expensive revolving debt grew beside them, and the next shock could still erase the liquid account. James's simplified cash versus card position was negative $5,389. That is not his full net worth. It ignores his retirement account, car, other assets, taxes, and unlisted liabilities. It is the liquid picture he needed for the next decision. Emergency cash, high-interest debt repayment, and long-term investing have different jobs. Emergency cash protects the next 30 days. Debt repayment stops a contracted rate from consuming future cash flow. Retirement investing accepts market risk in exchange for potential growth over many years. The $10,000 goal was not wrong. The order was wrong. Once James placed all three accounts on one page, the plan became a sequence instead of a wish. Step 1 was to stop avoidable leakage. James reviewed 90 days of transactions. His checking account charged $12 in any month he missed its balance requirement. That happened 8 months in the previous year, costing $96. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation advises consumers to compare account disclosures and fee schedules and look for ways to minimize monthly maintenance fees. James moved to an account that fit his actual behavior and did not charge a monthly maintenance fee. He canceled a $35 membership he was not using and changed his phone plan, saving $22 a month. Across a full year, the removed bank fee averaged $8 a month. 8 plus 35 plus 22 equals $65 of average monthly leakage stopped. He did not label all spending bad. He removed costs that were no longer buying anything he valued. This blocked the first automatic leak before asking James to work harder. Step 2 was a personal starter buffer of $1,500. James chose that number after reviewing his recent shocks. It could cover the kind of car repair or insurance deductible most likely to push him back onto the card. He already had $811. The gap was $689. He automated $150 a month into a separate savings account at an insured bank. Ignoring interest, 5 transfers would add $750 and lift the balance to $1,561. The account remained liquid. It was not invested in stocks. The job of this money was access, not maximum return. When a battery replacement cost $147, James used the reserve. The balance fell, but the credit card did not rise. Then the automatic transfer rebuilt the reserve. That was not failure. That was the buffer blocking the shock surcharge. Step 3 was to attack the 21% card. Once the starter reserve was stable, James directed his full $360 of monthly breathing room to the card while continuing all required payments. 6 months later, a trainer certification increased his after-tax monthly cash flow by an estimated $220. He raised the modeled card payment to $580. Under a simplified payoff model with a fixed 21% rate, no new charges, and payments at month end. 6 payments of $360 followed by $580 payments would clear $6,200 in about 15 months. Modeled interest would be approximately $984. The actual payoff depends on statement timing, daily balances, fees, and whether James can sustain the payments. This is a planning illustration, not a promise. The important change was mechanical. The same money that once tried to serve savings, emergencies, debt, and retirement panic at the same time received one priority. Every payment reduced the balance that generated the next automatic interest charge. That is how the plan blocked the automatic interest gap. Step 4 was to expand the reserve to James's personal $10,000 goal. After the card reached zero, James redirected the modeled $580 a month into savings. Starting from $1,500, the remaining gap was $8,500. At $580 a month, that gap would take about 15 months before deposit interest, assuming stable income and no large withdrawals. The complete illustration is about 5 months to establish the starter buffer, about 15 months to eliminate the card, and about 15 months to reach $10,000, roughly 35 months. At $10,000, James is not rich. A job loss, major illness, or housing change could still overwhelm the reserve. What he gains is distance. The next car repair is less likely to become revolving debt. A temporary income interruption has more time before it becomes a crisis. A bad decision no longer has to be made on the same day as the bad news, and the one-page sequence blocks the fragmented money trap. Cash protects near-term risk. Debt payments remove contracted cost. Retirement contributions serve the long horizon. The retirement pressure does not disappear. If the modeled 35-month sequence ended around age 47, James would have about 20 years until age 67. For a separate compound growth illustration, suppose he then began with his existing $14,600 retirement balance and contributed $400 a month for 20 years. At an estimated 5% annual return compounded monthly, the result would be approximately $204,000. At 7%, it would be approximately $267,000. Neither result is guaranteed. Fees, taxes, investment choices, market losses, employer matches, and contribution pauses can change the outcome. The balance may also change during the earlier debt and buffer sequence. Investor.gov provides a compound interest calculator using starting amount, monthly contribution, time, and estimated return. The word estimated matters. These figures do not say James has enough to retire. They show why a late starter cannot afford another decade of resets. The old script in James's head said, "Save $10,000 or you are failing." The new script says something more useful. Protect the next shock. Stop the automatic high-interest loss. Put every account on one page and assign each dollar one job. Then expand the reserve and rebuild the long-term plan with honest assumptions. If you are between 38 and 52 and your savings keeps returning to zero, do not begin by blaming your character or searching for the perfect investment. Open the last 90 days of transactions. Write down 5 numbers: your liquid savings, your highest interest rate, your true monthly breathing room, your most likely emergency tomorrow, and the number of years until your target retirement age. Those 5 numbers reveal which mechanism is charging you and which protection must come first. For James, the first milestone was not $10,000. It was $1,500 that could absorb a battery, a deductible, or a missed shift without creating new 21% debt. His first major return was not a stock market gain. It was removing a contracted 21% drag. The gravity tax survives when interest and fees are automatic. Protection is optional, and every account gives the same dollar a different instruction. It weakens when protection becomes automatic too. But there is another hidden tax that can break that order even after the math is clear. It converts attention into purchases, noise into urgency, and other people's priorities into your monthly bill. That is the distraction tax. And that is the next mechanism you need to see.